The stars looked different today. Dr. Amanda Wells stared at her sensor readings for the fifth time, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. Something was wrong with space itself, and she couldn't figure out what. "Captain Nash, you need to see this," she called out, her voice echoing across the U.S. Hyperion Science Bay. The massive research vessel had been patrolling the edge of known space for 3 months now, and this was the first truly unusual reading they'd encountered. Captain Robert Nash walked over, his boots making soft sounds against the metal floor. He was a tall man with graying hair who had seen enough strange things in space to know when to worry. "What have you got, Doctor?" "The quantum readings are impossible." Amanda pointed to her screen. "Space is folding in ways it shouldn't. Look at these patterns." The screen showed waves of energy that looked like ripples in a pond, but these ripples were in the fabric of space itself. As they watched, the patterns changed color from blue to red, then back again. Lieutenant Paul Dixon joined them at the console, his weapons officer insignia gleaming under the bright lights. "Those patterns," he said slowly, "they're reacting to us watching them." Amanda nodded. "That's what makes no sense. These quantum fluctuations are responding to human observation. They're changing because we're looking at them." Captain Nash frowned. "Could it be a natural phenomenon?" "No," Amanda said firmly. "Nature doesn't care if we're watching or not. This is different. It's like reality itself is aware of us." The captain straightened up. "Send all data to Earth Command. Lieutenant Dixon, raise our alert status to yellow. Something's not right out here." As Dixon moved to his station, the ship's lights dimmed slightly, switching to combat readiness mode. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, but there was tension in the air. Amanda kept working, her fingers flying over her keyboard. The more she studied the readings, the stranger they became. The quantum fluctuations were forming patterns that looked almost like language, but they changed every time someone new looked at the screen. "Captain," she called out again, "I think it's trying to communicate." Nash returned to her station, this time bringing his command tablet with him. "Communicate? With whom?" "With us. With humans specifically." Amanda pulled up a new set of readings. "Look at this. When our non-human crew members observe the phenomenon, it doesn't change. But every time a human looks at it, the patterns shift and become more complex." The ship's AI chimed in through the overhead speakers, anomaly increasing in size. Detecting similar phenomena at coordinates 227 Mark 448 and 301 Mark 892. Dixon's voice carried across the bridge. "Sir, the quantum disturbances are forming a triangle around our position." Captain Nash's expression hardened. "Defensive positions. Dr. Wells, what are we dealing with?" Amanda's hands shook slightly as she processed the new data. "Captain, these aren't natural formations. Someone or something is testing us. They're studying how human consciousness interacts with quantum reality. Hostile. Unknown. But..." Amanda paused as new readings flooded her screen. "They're powerful. These disturbances are bending space-time like it's paper. Whoever they are, they can reshape reality itself." The ship's lights flickered, and for a moment, everyone on the bridge saw double. It was as if reality had hiccuped, showing them two slightly different versions of the same moment. "All hands," Nash's voice rang out over the ship's comm system. "Prepare for possible reality distortion. Activate quantum stabilizers." The stabilizers hummed to life, creating a bubble of normal space around the ship. But Amanda's readings showed something unexpected. "Captain, our stabilizers. They're doing more than they should be able to. The human crew's brainwave patterns are somehow amplifying them." Dixon looked up from his weapons console. "Sir, I'm getting strange readings from the weapon systems too. They're resonating with the crew's neural patterns." Nash moved to the center of the bridge. "Doctor, what are you saying?" Amanda took a deep breath. "I'm saying that human consciousness itself might be special. These beings, whoever they are, they're interested in us. because our minds can affect reality in ways we never knew were possible. The quantum disturbances grew stronger, and the ship's AI reported more anomalies appearing throughout nearby space. The U.S. Hyperion found itself at the center of a growing web of reality-bending phenomena. "Send everything we have to Earth Command," Nash ordered. "Priority 1 transmission. Dr. Wells, I want theories. Lieutenant Dixon, see if you can find a way to use these quantum resonance effects to enhance our defenses." As the crew worked, Amanda couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled onto something massive. The universe wasn't just stranger than they had imagined. It was stranger than they could have imagined. And somehow, human consciousness was the key to understanding it all. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Amanda's team discovered that the quantum anomalies responded differently to different emotional states in the human crew. Fear made them grow larger, curiosity made them more complex, and focused concentration could actually stabilize them. "It's like we're naturally equipped to interact with the fabric of reality," she explained to Captain Nash. "We just never knew it because we never encountered anything that could show us this ability." Nash nodded grimly. "And now something is decided to show us. The question is, why?" The answer came 3 days later, when they detected a massive quantum surge at the edge of their sensor range. The surge twisted space in impossible ways, and for a brief moment, the crew saw through a tear in reality itself. On the other side was a vast network of artificial universes, each one a prison holding entire civilizations captive. And in that moment, they understood why their consciousness was special. It could disrupt the prison walls. "Captain," Amanda said quietly, "I don't think we discovered this by accident. I think we were meant to find it. Someone wants us to know what we can do." Nash stared at the sensor readings, his jaw set firmly. "Send word to Earth Command. Tell them we're going to need bigger ships, and we're going to need to understand exactly what human consciousness can do to reality itself." As the message was sent, Amanda looked back at her readings. The quantum disturbances were still there, still changing with every human observation. But now they seemed less like a mysterious phenomenon and more like a challenge that humanity would have to rise to meet. Because somewhere out there, beyond the boundaries of normal space, prisoners were waiting to be freed. And humanity had just discovered they might be the only ones who could save them. The U.S. Hyperion continued its patrol, but now with a new purpose. They weren't just exploring the unknown anymore. They were preparing for a war that would be fought not just with weapons, but with the power of human consciousness itself. And in the quantum fluctuations that surrounded them, reality itself seemed to be holding its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do with their newfound power. Admiral Catherine Brooks stood at the window of Earth Defense Command, watching ships move through the orbital shipyards. 3 months had passed since the U.S. Hyperion's discovery, and humanity had been busy. "Tell me again," she said to Dr. Stephen Hayes, who sat behind her desk surrounded by holographic displays. "Explain what these void walkers are doing." Stephen adjusted his glasses, a habit he kept even though modern medicine could fix his eyes. "They're architects of reality itself. They build pocket universes like we build houses, then use them as prisons for other species." First Officer Laura Martins of the U.S. Hyperion stepped forward, adding to the explanation. "The prisoners don't even know they're trapped. Each pocket universe feels real to them. They live entire lives thinking they're free." Catherine turned from the window. "And you're sure human consciousness can break these prisons?" "We've proven it," Laura said. "After the Hyperion's discovery, we've run hundreds of tests. Human minds can create ripples in reality. When we focus together, those ripples become waves." The room's holographic displays showed the latest test results. 20 human volunteers had worked together, their combined consciousness creating tears in the fabric of space itself. The tears were small, but they proved what was possible. "The Voidwalkers noticed us because we're different," Stephen explained. "Every other species they've encountered sees reality as fixed and unchangeable. But humans," he smiled, We question everything. Our minds naturally resist any version of reality that tries to contain us. A soft chime announced a new arrival. Captain Robert Nash and Dr. Amanda Wells entered the room, fresh from their debriefing with Earth's Science Council. "Admiral," Nash said, "we've detected 3 more prison universes in our sector alone. The Voidwalkers are watching us, trying to decide what to do about us." Amanda pulled up new sensor data on the main display. "They're testing our responses. Each pocket universe they show us is more complex than the last. They want to know the limits of our ability to perceive them." Catherine walked to her desk, studying the data. "Do we have any way to communicate with the imprisoned species?" "Not yet," Stephen said, "but we've made progress understanding how the prison universes work. The Voidwalkers use quantum entanglement on a massive scale. They bind consciousness itself to their artificial realities." Laura pointed to a particular reading. "But human consciousness creates interference in the entanglement. We're like static in their perfect prison signal." The Admiral sat down, her expression serious. "And now they know we can disrupt their systems. They won't ignore that for long." "They're already responding," Nash said. "The Hyperion detected movement at the edges of known space. The Voidwalkers are gathering their forces." Amanda brought up a new set of readings. "They're not just gathering forces, they're building something. We've detected massive reality distortions, bigger than anything we've seen before." "Show me," Catherine ordered. The holographic display filled with swirling patterns of energy. Even in the recording, they could see how space itself bent and twisted around the Voidwalkers' construction sites. "They're building weapons," Stephen said quietly. "Weapons that can probably rewrite reality itself, if they decide we're a threat to their prison system." Catherine finished his thought. "They'll try to imprison humanity too, or worse." "But we have an advantage," Laura said. "They've never dealt with minds like ours before. Every test they run teaches us more about our own abilities." The Admiral stood up and walked back to the window. The shipyards were busy with new construction. Humanity's first attempts at ships that could harness the power of human consciousness. "How long until the first new ship is ready?" she asked. "The U.S. Mindscape will be operational in 6 weeks, Nash replied. "It's smaller than we'd like, but it's a start. The quantum amplification chambers are already installed." "And the crew?" Amanda stepped forward. "We've selected the first group of human consciousness pilots. They're training now, learning to focus their ability to affect reality." Catherine nodded. "Good, because I don't think we have much time. The Voidwalkers won't wait for us to fully understand our powers." As if to prove her point, alarms began blaring throughout the command center. New sensor data flooded the displays. "Multiple reality breaches detected," Laura called out, rushing to a console. "The Voidwalkers, they're not waiting. They're making their move now." The holographic display showed tiers opening in space around Earth's outer colonies. Strange ships emerged, their forms seeming to shift and change as they moved. "They're trying to establish quantum anchors," Stephen explained quickly. "If they succeed, they can begin building a prison universe around our entire solar system." Catherine's voice cut through the chaos. "Launch everything we have. All ships with quantum sensors deploy immediately. We need to disrupt those anchors before they stabilize." Nash was already moving. "The Hyperion is ready for launch. We can't fight them directly yet, but we can observe them. Every observation by human consciousness weakens their reality manipulations." "Do it," Catherine ordered. "Get our people out there. Show these Voidwalkers that humanity won't be easily caged." As the room erupted into action, Amanda studied the sensor readings with growing concern. "Admiral, there's something else. The prison universes we detected earlier, they're changing. The Voidwalkers are doing something to them." The display showed the pocket universes pulsing with new energy. The imprisoned species inside were being affected somehow, their own consciousness being modified. "They're turning prisoners into weapons," Stephen realized. "Using them against us." Catherine's expression hardened. "Then we'll free them. Launch the Mindscape early if you have to. We need to show those prisoners that their cages can be broken. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Ships launched from Earth's shipyards, carrying human observers to confront the Voidwalker incursion. Each ship's crew focused their minds on the quantum anchors, creating disruptions in the Voidwalker's careful calculations. And in a heavily shielded dock, engineers rushed to complete humanity's first consciousness-powered warship. The U.S. Mindscape wasn't fully tested, but it would have to be enough. Because now humanity knew the truth. They weren't just fighting for their own freedom. They were fighting for every species that had ever been trapped in a false reality, their minds bound by the Voidwalker's power. The breach had begun, and humanity's unique consciousness would either be their salvation or their downfall. As Catherine watched her fleet deploy, she knew this was just the beginning. The real war wouldn't be fought with traditional weapons. It would be fought with the power of human minds, questioning reality itself until it broke open and set the prisoners free. Engineer Chris Murphy wiped sweat from his forehead as he stared at the massive engine core of the U.S. Mindscape. The ship was unlike anything humanity had ever built before. Its heart wasn't made of metal and plasma. It was made of human thoughts and dreams. "How are the consciousness amplifiers holding up?" Director Michelle Baker asked, walking into the engine room. Her Earth Defense Council uniform was crisp and clean, a sharp contrast to Chris's oil-stained worksuit. "Better than expected," Chris said, pointing to the glowing chambers that lined the walls. Each one can amplify the mental energy of a single human pilot by a factor of 10,000. With all 20 chambers working together, he smiled. "We can tear holes in reality itself." Commander Daniel Ross entered the room, carrying new test results. "The Voidwalkers hit another colony yesterday," he said grimly. "But this time we were ready. The colony's population focused their minds together, just like we taught them. Their combined consciousness disrupted the prison universe before it could form." Michelle nodded. "Good, but we need more than just defense. Show me the weapon systems." They walked through the massive ship, passing crews installing equipment and running tests. The U.S. Mindscape was nearly a mile long, but most of its space was devoted to supporting the 20 human pilots who would power its reality-bending weapons. "Here's the main control room," Chris said, leading them into a circular chamber. 20 crystal pods were arranged in a circle, each one designed to hold a human pilot. When the pilots work together, their amplified consciousness can do more than just disrupt reality. They can reshape it. Daniel stepped up to one of the pods, looking at its complex controls. "How do you keep the pilots safe? This much power flowing through a human mind." "We've solved that," Chris assured him. "The crystals in the pods are quantum-linked. They spread the mental load across all 20 pilots. No single person has to handle too much power." Michelle walked to the center of the room, where a larger crystal sphere hung from the ceiling. "And this?" "The synchronizer," Chris explained. "It helps the pilots work together, combining their consciousness into a single force. With this, they can create effects we've only dreamed about." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed as the vessel's AI announced, "Alert! Voidwalker activity detected in Sector 7. Prison universe formation in progress." Michelle straightened. "How long until the Mindscape is ready for launch?" "We need another week, Toe," Chris started. "We don't have a week," Daniel cut in, checking his datapad. "The Voidwalkers are trying something new. They're not just building a prison universe. They're trying to rewrite the laws of physics in that entire sector." Chris looked at his engine readouts. "The consciousness amplifiers are at 90% efficiency. We could launch now, but—" "Do it," Michelle ordered. "Sound the call for the pilot volunteers. We're launching in 2 hours." The next 2 hours were chaos. 20 volunteers were quickly suited up and briefed. They were a mix of scientists, soldiers, and civilians, chosen not for their military experience, but for their ability to question reality itself. "Remember your training," Daniel told them as they prepared to enter their pods. "Your minds are the strongest weapon we have. When you work together, Nothing can stand against you. Chris supervised the power-up sequence as the pilots were sealed into their crystal chambers. The ship's engines hummed to life, powered by the combined consciousness of 20 human minds. All systems ready, the ship's AI announced. Consciousness amplification at maximum safe levels. Reality distortion fields active. Michelle stood on the bridge, watching as the massive ship lifted off from Earth's surface. Take us to Sector 7. Maximum speed. The Mindscape moved differently than other ships. Instead of pushing through space, it seemed to suggest to reality that it should be somewhere else, and reality agreed. They crossed light years in minutes. When they arrived at Sector 7, they found 3 Void Walker ships already there. The alien vessels were like tears in space, their forms constantly shifting as they rewrote the laws of physics around them. Pilots, prepare for engagement. Daniel's voice echoed through the ship. Remember, you're not just fighting with your minds. You're fighting with your ability to question everything these beings think they know about reality. In their crystal pods, the 20 pilots joined their consciousness together. Through the synchronizer, they became something greater than themselves. Their combined will reached out through the ship's amplifiers. The Void Walker ships noticed them immediately. Reality rippled as the alien vessels turned to face this new threat. They're trying to rewrite our local space, Chris reported from engineering, attempting to change our ship's physical laws. But the pilots were ready. Their amplified consciousness created a bubble of pure human stubbornness around the ship. Inside that bubble, reality stayed exactly as humanity believed it should be. Return fire, Michelle ordered. The pilots focused their combined will through the ship's weapons. They didn't fire energy beams or missiles. Instead, they fired pure human disbelief. Their minds reached out and simply refused to accept the Void Walker's version of reality. Space cracked where their thoughts struck the alien ships. The Void Walker's careful manipulations of physics began to unravel. It's working, Chris shouted. Their reality manipulations are failing. The pilots pushed harder, their minds working in perfect sync through the crystalline network. They didn't just attack the Void Walker ships. They attacked the very idea that reality could be caged and controlled. One of the alien ships flickered and vanished, its hold on existence broken by human consciousness. The second tried to retreat, twisting space around itself. But the pilots reached out and untwisted it. The third ship lasted longest. It managed to launch an attack, sending waves of altered physics toward the Mindscape. But the pilots caught those waves and reflected them back, amplified by their combined disbelief. When it was over, all 3 Void Walker ships were gone. The laws of physics in Sector 7 returned to normal, and humanity had proved something important. They could fight back. Damage report, Michelle called out. Minor strain on the consciousness amplifiers, Chris reported. But the pilots are all stable. The system worked exactly as designed. Daniel checked the sensor readings. The prison universe they were building, it's gone. They didn't even get to finish it. In their crystal pods, the pilots slowly separated their consciousness, becoming individuals again. They were tired but proud. They had faced beings who could rewrite reality, and they had won. Send word to Earth, Michelle ordered. Tell them the Mindscape was successful. And tell them to build more ships. The Void Walkers won't stop with one defeat. As the message was sent, Chris looked at his readings again. The consciousness amplifiers were already recharging, powered by the pilot's determination. Humanity's first reality-bending warship had proven itself in battle. The war for reality itself had begun, and humanity had just shown that their greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their stubborn refusal to accept any reality but their own. Captain Jennifer Klein stood on the bridge of the U.S. Mindscape, watching the swirling colors of the Arcturus sector through the main viewport. The ship's 20 pilots were in their crystal pods, their combined consciousness keeping the ship safe from the Void Walker's reality storms. Another prison universe detected, Lieutenant Eric Foster announced from his reality navigation station. This one's bigger than the others. much bigger. Dr. Andrew Phillips looked up from his engineering console. "Captain, I'm reading 3 different species trapped inside. The Voidwalkers are keeping them in separate layers of false reality." Jennifer walked to the center of the bridge. After 3 successful missions, the Mindscape's crew had learned to trust their instincts about reality itself. Right now, her instincts were screaming that something was wrong. "Status of the other ships?" she asked. "U.S. Dreamweaver and U.S. Reality's Edge are in position," Eric reported. "They're ready to support our attack." 3 human ships against the Voidwalkers' prison complex. A few months ago, such a fight would have been impossible. But humanity had learned quickly. "All pilots, prepare for full consciousness sync," Jennifer ordered. Dr. Phillips charged the reality disruption arrays. In their crystal pods, the 20 pilots joined their minds together. The ship hummed with their combined mental energy, amplified thousands of times by the crystalline network. "Voidwalker ships approaching," Eric called out. 5. No, 7 of them. Jennifer smiled grimly. "They're learning. They know they need numbers to fight us now." The Voidwalker ships looked like tears in space, their forms shifting and changing as they manipulated reality around them. But humanity's ships stayed solid and real, protected by the stubborn belief of their pilots. "Begin the attack," Jennifer ordered. "Target the prison universe's outer layer first. Let's show these trapped species what freedom looks like." The 3 human ships moved in perfect formation, their pilots' combined consciousness reaching out through space. They didn't fire conventional weapons. They fired pure human skepticism, the power of minds that refuse to accept false realities. The Voidwalkers struck first. Reality twisted around the human ships as the aliens tried to rewrite the laws of physics, but the pilots caught these changes and unraveled them, turning the Voidwalkers' own power against them. "First layer breaking down," Dr. Phillips announced excitedly. "I'm detecting consciousness patterns from the imprisoned species. They're starting to wake up." Jennifer watched as cracks appeared in the false reality. Through those cracks, she could see glimpses of the trapped aliens, beams of crystal, energy, and strange matter. They had been sleeping in their artificial universe, but now they were beginning to question their reality. "Voidwalker ships moving to surround us," Eric reported tensely. "They're trying to box us in." "Not today," Jennifer said firmly. "All pilots, focus your disbelief. Show them why humanity can't be caged." The pilot's consciousness surged through the ship's amplifiers. Their combined will struck out at the Voidwalker ships, not just attacking their physical forms but questioning the very rules they use to control reality. Space cracked and buckled as human stubbornness met alien control. The Voidwalkers tried to rewrite the laws of physics, but the human pilots simply refused to accept these changes. "Second layer of the prison universe collapsing," Dr. Phillips reported. "The trapped species are fully awake now. They're helping us." Jennifer watched in amazement as strange energy patterns emerged from the breaking prison universe. The freed aliens were adding their own consciousness to the battle, their minds joining with the human pilots in refusing to accept false realities. "Voidwalker ships retreating," Eric called out. 3 of them have lost their hold on local space. The battle reached its peak as the human ships attacked the final layer of the prison universe. The Voidwalkers fought desperately, trying to maintain their control over reality itself. But they faced something they had never encountered before, the combined consciousness of humanity and their freed allies. "Final layer breaking down," Dr. Phillips announced. "Prison universe collapse in 3, 2, 1. The false reality shattered like glass. In its place, normal space rushed back in. The freed species emerged fully into true reality, their forms strange, but their consciousness clear and awake. "Voidwalker ships are in full retreat," Eric reported. "They're pulling back to their own space." Jennifer allowed herself a small smile. "Begin communication with the freed species. Let's welcome them back to real reality." The next few hours were busy as the human ships helped the freed aliens adjust to true space. The 3 species, the crystalline Zarkax, The energy-based Lumineth and the strange matter quantum dancers were grateful and angry. They had been trapped in the false reality for thousands of years. The Voidwalkers feared us, the Zarkak's leader explained through a consciousness-linked translator. They feared what we might become. So they trapped us in dreams, making us forget our true nature. But you woke us up, Illuminov added, its form glowing with emotion. Your minds, they're different. You question everything. You refuse to accept limitations. Dr. Phillips studied the readings from the freed species. Their consciousness patterns are similar to ours in some ways. They can help us fight the Void Walkers. Jennifer nodded. We'll take you to Earth. Our leaders will want to talk about an alliance. As the ships prepared to return home, Jennifer received a message from Earth Defense Command. More prison universes had been detected. The Void Walkers were moving their captives, hiding them in deeper layers of false reality. They're scared, Eric said, looking at the reports. They know we can free their prisoners now. They should be scared, Jennifer replied, because we're not going to stop. Every species they've trapped, every mind they've caged, we're going to free them all. The freed aliens joined their consciousness with the human pilots for the journey back to Earth. Together, they created a bubble of pure, unquestionable reality around their ships. Inside that bubble, nothing could be false or artificial. As they traveled, Jennifer thought about how far humanity had come. They had gone from discovering their power to building ships that could tear reality apart, and now they had allies who understood what it meant to question everything. The war wasn't over. The Void Walkers would be back, with new ways to twist reality. But humanity wasn't fighting alone anymore. They had shown the universe that consciousness couldn't be caged, that reality itself would break before the human mind would accept imprisonment. The Arcturus sector returned to normal space as the last traces of the prison universe faded away. 3 species were free, and humanity had proved again that their greatest weapon was their ability to question reality itself. Admiral Peter Reynolds watched as 5 massive ships moved through Earth's orbital shipyards. Each one was a consciousness-powered dreadnought, built to tear holes in reality itself. The newest, U.S. Awakening, had just been completed. The Zarkak's crystals are working perfectly, Dr. Karen Martinez said, showing him the readings on her tablet. Their crystalline consciousness amplifies our pilot's powers even more than our original designs. Lieutenant Samuel Chen nodded from his tactical station. And the Luminoth energy cores let us store more mental energy than ever. We can fight longer, push harder against the Void Walkers' false realities. The combined fleet of humanity and their freed allies had grown strong. In the 2 months since the Arcturus battle, they had freed 12 more species from prison universes. Each freed race brought new ways to fight against the Void Walkers. Show me the latest mission reports, Peter ordered. Karen pulled up a holographic display. It showed the U.S. Mindscape and U.S. Reality's Edge working together to free a water-based species called the Oceanic Mind. The prison universe had been underwater, but human consciousness had turned the false ocean into mist. The Void Walkers are getting desperate, Samuel said. They're trying to hide their prison universes in stranger places. Some are inside stars. Others are twisted into impossible shapes. But they can't hide them from us anymore, Karen added. The quantum dancers taught us how to see through all their tricks. Human consciousness, combined with our allies' knowledge, it's unstoppable. Peter walked to the window, watching Earth below. How many prison universes are left? We've located 37, Samuel reported, but we think there are more. The Void Walkers keep moving them, trying to stay ahead of our fleet. Alarms suddenly blared through the command center. New sensor data flowed across their screens. Multiple reality breaches detected, Karen called out. The Void Walkers, they're attacking the Zarkak's homeworld. Peter moved quickly to his command station. Launch all ships. Get me fleet-wide communications. The 5 human dreadnoughts powered up, their consciousness chambers glowing with combined human and alien mental energy. On each ship, 20 human pilots joined minds with crystal matrices grown by the Zarkax, creating pools of pure consciousness that could reshape reality. All ships, prepare for consciousness sync, Peter ordered. We're not letting them cage our allies again. The fleet moved through space, reality bending around them as they traveled. They brought their own laws of physics with them, protected by the stubborn belief of their human pilots and the ancient knowledge of their alien allies. When they reached the Zarkax homeworld, they found 30 Void Walker ships trying to build a massive prison universe around the entire planet. They're trying to trap them all at once, Karen said, studying the readings. They want to stop the Zarkax from helping us free other species. Not happening, Peter said firmly. All ships, begin the attack. Show them what a real revolution looks like. The 5 human dreadnoughts moved into formation. Inside each ship, human pilots joined their consciousness with Zarkax crystals and Luminoth energy. The quantum dancers added their strange matter minds to the mix, creating a power that could tear reality apart. The Void Walkers struck first, trying to rewrite the laws of physics around the human fleet. But the ships were protected by multiple layers of consciousness, human stubbornness wrapped in crystalline clarity, powered by living energy, guided by quantum understanding. They're trying something new, Samuel reported. The Void Walkers are attempting to time-lock our ships. They want to freeze us in a single moment. But human consciousness refused to be bound by time. The pilots pushed back, their minds breaking through the time-lock attempt. They had help from new allies. The oceanic mind added their fluid thoughts, turning the rigid time lock into flowing possibilities. Return fire, Peter ordered. Full consciousness broadcast. Let's show them what freedom really means. The human fleet didn't just attack the Void Walker ships. They attacked the very idea of imprisonment. Their combined consciousness reached out to every species that had ever been caged, calling them to wake up and break free. Reality cracked around the Zarkax homeworld as prison universes began appearing. Not because the Void Walkers were building them, but because old prison universes were breaking down. All across space, trapped species were waking up, their minds joining the revolution. It's working, Karen shouted excitedly. The prison network is collapsing. Every species they ever trapped is starting to question their reality. The Void Walker ships tried to retreat, but they were caught in a storm of awakening consciousness. Human disbelief mixed with alien understanding, creating waves of pure freedom that broke through every false reality. More allies incoming, Samuel reported. The freed species, they're all coming to help. Ships of crystal, energy, and stranger things appeared around the human fleet. Each one was crewed by a species that had been imprisoned by the Void Walkers. Now they were free, and they were angry. The battle became a revolution as more and more species joined the fight. The Void Walkers found themselves facing not just humanity, but every mind they had ever tried to cage. Prison network collapse at 60%, Karen announced. 70%, 80%. Peter watched as reality itself seemed to shake. The Void Walkers' careful structures were falling apart, broken by the combined will of dozens of species led by human consciousness. When it was over, the Void Walkers had retreated. The Zarkax homeworld was safe, and 30 more species had been freed from their prison universes. Send word to Earth, Peter ordered. Tell them the revolution has begun. Every species the Void Walkers ever trapped is waking up. And they all want to fight. As the messages were sent, the human fleet began coordinating with their new allies. Each freed species brought new ways to fight, new understanding of how reality could be reshaped by conscious minds. The Void Walkers didn't understand what they were doing, Karen said quietly. By trapping all these species, they created the very force that could defeat them. Samuel nodded. Because now we have something they never expected. A universe full of minds that know how to question reality. Peter looked at the fleet of allied ships surrounding his dreadnoughts. Humanity had started this fight alone, armed only with their stubborn disbelief in limitations. Now they led an army of freed minds, each one adding their own power to the revolution. The war for reality itself had become a war for consciousness, and consciousness, once awakened, could never be caged again. Grand Admiral Lisa Warren stood at the head of the largest fleet ever assembled. 100 consciousness-powered dreadnoughts, each one crewed by humans and their alien allies, prepared for the final battle. Around these massive ships flew thousands of smaller vessels, each one representing a species that had broken free from the Void Walker's prison universes. "All ships report ready," Dr. Ryan Cooper announced from his position at the fleet's Quantum Coordination Center. "The combined consciousness of 87 species is synchronized and ready to strike." Commander Nickel Anderson studied the tactical displays. "We've located their home dimension. The Void Walkers can't hide anymore. Every species they ever imprisoned has helped us track them down." Lisa looked at the swirling patterns on the main screen. The Void Walkers' home dimension wasn't just a place. It was the source of their power to reshape reality. It was where they had first learned to build their prison universes. "Begin the dimensional breach," she ordered. "Let's show them what real change looks like." The fleet moved as one, their combined consciousness pushing against the barriers between dimensions. Human stubbornness mixed with alien wisdom, creating a force that could tear through the walls of reality itself. "Breach in progress," Ryan reported. "The Zarkax crystals are amplifying our pilot's power. The Luminoth energy cores are stable. Quantum dancers are guiding our path." Space cracked open before them, revealing a dimension that didn't follow normal laws of physics. The Void Walker's home was a place where reality was soft and changeable, where consciousness could easily reshape matter and energy. "They're waiting for us," Nickel warned. "Massive reality distortions ahead. They've turned their entire dimension into a weapon." Lisa nodded grimly. "They still think they can control everything. Show them how wrong they are. All ships, begin the attack." The fleet surged forward into the strange dimension. Inside each ship, human pilots joined their minds with alien consciousness, creating waves of pure defiance that crashed against the Void Walkers' careful structures. The Void Walkers responded with their full power. Reality twisted and changed around the fleet as the ancient beings tried to rewrite the laws of physics themselves. They tried to trap the ships in pocket universes, to change the very rules that governed existence. But humanity had learned well from their allies. The human pilots caught these changes and turned them back, their minds protected by Zarkax crystals, powered by Luminoth energy, guided by quantum dancer wisdom. The oceanic mind added their fluid thoughts, making reality flow around the Void Walkers' attacks. "They're trying to separate us," Ryan called out. "They want to break our consciousness stink." "Keep the fleet together," Lisa ordered. "Remember why we're here. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every mind that wants to be free." The battle raged across dimensions as the fleet pushed deeper into the Void Walker's home. Reality burned and froze, stretched and compressed, as two different ways of thinking about existence clashed. "New readings," Nickel announced. "We're detecting consciousness patterns. Millions of them." Lisa studied the readings. "More prisoners?" "No," Ryan said softly. "Not prisoners. Young species. The Void Walkers. They've been nurturing them, teaching them their way of thinking about reality." Lisa understood then. The Void Walkers hadn't just been imprisoning developed species. They had been raising new ones, teaching them from the beginning that reality was something to be controlled and caged. "Change of plans," she announced to the fleet. "We're not here to destroy. We're here to teach. Show these young species what freedom looks like." The human fleet shifted its attack. Instead of trying to break the Void Walker's dimension, they began to change it. Human consciousness reached out, offering new ways of thinking about reality. The Void Walkers fought back, but they faced something they had never expected. The fleet wasn't attacking with weapons. They were attacking with ideas. The idea that reality wasn't something to be controlled, but something to be questioned and explored. "The young species," Ryan reported excitedly. "They're responding. Their consciousness patterns are changing. Lisa watched as reality itself seemed to hold its breath. The young species were faced with a choice: continue following the Void Walkers' rigid rules, or embrace the freedom that humanity and their allies offered. One by one, they chose freedom. Their minds joined the network of consciousness that powered the fleet, adding their own unique ways of questioning reality. The Void Walkers, Nickel said. They're stopping. The ancient beings had ceased their attacks. They watched as their carefully built system of control crumbled, replaced by something new and unpredictable. Lisa opened a consciousness link to the Void Walkers themselves. Your time of control is over, she transmitted. But you don't have to end. Join us. Learn to see reality as something to explore, not something to cage. Hours passed as the Void Walkers considered this offer. Around the fleet, reality gradually stabilized. Not into the rigid patterns the Void Walkers had maintained, but into something new. A reality shaped by many minds working together. Finally, the Void Walkers responded. They couldn't change their basic nature, they explained. They would always see reality as something to be ordered and controlled, but they could step aside. Let younger minds take their turn at shaping existence. They're retreating, Ryan announced, moving to a pocket dimension of their own making. But they're leaving all their knowledge behind, sharing it freely. Lisa smiled. Then let's use it well. Begin transmitting to all species, young and old. Tell them that reality itself is changing. The age of prison universes is over. Now every consciousness gets a voice in shaping existence. The fleet began its work, spreading out across dimensions. They had worlds to rebuild, species to teach, and a whole new way of thinking about reality to share. Humanity's greatest contribution hadn't been their weapons or their technology. It had been their stubborn insistence that reality itself could be questioned, that any cage, no matter how perfect, could be broken by a mind that refused to accept it. As the fleet worked, reality slowly transformed, not into something rigid and controlled, but into something fluid and alive. A reality shaped by billions of minds, each one adding its own questions and ideas to the great pattern of existence. The universe would never be the same. And that, Lisa thought, was exactly as it should be.